reflection due to oblique incidence. This is the first time you are going to be introduced with the two-dimensional wave propagation. And here the TE and TM polarizations play major role, and that will be discussed in this lecture. In my last lecture, the normal incidence case, there I have discussed the boundary condition for the electric field as well as the magnetic field. So those boundary conditions are also will be necessary for this case also. But along with these two boundary condition, one additional boundary conditions is also required, that is the conservation of tangential wave vector, and that thing will be discussed in this lecture. And the consequence of these tangential wave vector, conservation of the tangential wave vector results in the Snell's law and the total internal reflections. All those things will be discussed here. And next one will be the Brewster's angle, which is associated with the TM polarizations, and that causes zero deflection at a particular angle. So that thing also will be discussed. First of all, we have to understand what is the TE polarization and what is TM polarization. Similar to my previous lecture, uh, here also I'm considering that the interface is appearing at z equals to 0, and the medium 1 is appearing for z less than 0 and medium 2 for z greater than 0. Eta 1 and n1 are characterizing the first medium, and eta 2 n2 are characterizing the second medium, with this condition that the n2 refractive index of the medium 2 is greater than the refractive index of the medium 1. The horizontal direction is obviously the z directions, and that is why the interface is appearing at z equals to 0, and the vertical direction is represented by these y direction, and the x direction, which is either into the page or towards you. And the system, this coordinate system, what I have considered here, that is the right hand system. You must have to consider the right hand system, because everything in the electromagnetism is based on the right hand system. So in this case, right hand system means the coordinate systems, or the x, y, z, should be placed in such a way that when you place your right hand from the y direction towards the z direction, your thumb must indicate the x direction. So in that perspective, x direction, positive x direction, will be into the page and or into the computer screen, and the negative x direction will be towards you. Now, along all these setup, let's consider first an incident wave which incident from the rarer medium, that means the medium characterized by n1 and eta 1. This is the incident wave, and it makes an angle theta I with the surface normal. So this dotted line represents the surface normal, and so this is a theta I. Next one is the reflected wave, that is represented by this arrow, and which is making an angle theta R with the surface normal. The transmitted wave is basically the refracted wave, so it is making an angle theta T with the surface normal. So I will explain why this ray refracts later on. But right now we know that when an electromagnetic wave, say for example light also, which is an electromagnetic wave which incidents from a rarer medium to the denser medium, it refracts towards the surface normal. So that is why this refraction is taking place towards the surface normal. So why this refraction is taking place in such a way, those things will be discussed here. The electric field, which is perpendicular to the direction of the propagation, since the direction of the propagation is denoted by this ki, which represents the wave vector along the direction of the propagation, and the EI, which represents the electric field that must be perpendicular to the direction of the propagation, and the magnetic field that also will be perpendicular to the plane that contains the electric field and the direction of the propagation. So therefore the HX I have considered along this direction. But when you are considering the direction of the propagation, the electric field and the magnetic field, everything should be as per the right hand rule. That means when in this particular case, when you will curl your uh, fingers from first of all, when you place your finger along the direction of the direction of the electric field, and you will curl your finger from the electric field towards the magnetic field, your thumb must represents the direction of the propagation. So in this case, based on that right hand rule, I have placed all of this component. Similarly, the reflected, in the case of reflected wave, we know since the electric field represents the direction of the propagation, so we generally do not alter its direction. Rather, we prefer to alter the direction of the magnetic field. So therefore, in this case, in order to represent the direction of the reflected wave, I have denoted this kr minus kr, that represents the, it is reflecting back into the first medium. And here also, if you place your finger of the right hand along the electric field and curl all of those fingers towards the magnetic field, so the thumb must represents the direction of the propagation. So based on that condition, the direction of the magnetic field will be into the page. So in this case, the direction of the magnetic field is towards the negative x-axis, and in this case, the direction of the magnetic field is towards the positive x-axis. For the transmitted case, for the transmitted wave, the direction of the electric field remains same, and the direction of the magnetic field also remains same along the same direction. But the total wave gets refracted and it shifts towards the surface normal. Now consider the second example. Here, in the first case, one thing you should notice over here, that the plane which is containing the surface normal and the incident wave, the electric field is also on that particular plane, whereas the magnetic field is always perpendicular to that particular plane. So such kind of wave or such kind of orientations are called the transverse magnetic polarizations, because the magnetic field is transverse to the direction of the propagation, or basically the magnetic field is a transverse to the plane of incidence. Plane of incidence is basically the plane which contains the incident field vector, reflected field vector, and incident wave vector, reflected wave vector, and transmitted wave vector, along with the along with their uh, electric field component. So in this case, all all the wave vectors are contained on the same plane. That means in this case, that is the YZ plane, and the electric field is also parallel to that particular plane. Only the magnetic field that is perpendicular to that plane. So the plane which contains all such wave vector except the magnetic field is called the plane of incidence. And since the magnetic field is perpendicular to the plane of incidence, so in this case we denote, or we call it is the transverse magnetic polarizations. Now take an example on your left hand side over here. Here the situation is just reverse. The electric field is rather perpendicular to the plane of incidence. So the incident wave vector and the magnetic field is contained within the YZ plane, and similarly the reflected wave vector and the magnetic field is parallel to the YZ plane, and the transmitted wave vector and the magnetic field on the transmitted side are also on the same plane. Only the electric field that is perpendicular to that particular plane. Therefore, such kind of orientations is called the transverse electric polarizations, because the electric field is transverse to the, or perpendicular to the plane of incidence. And here also you should be careful about, or you should check this orientation of this electric field and magnetic field and the propagation vectors. They are also following the right hand rule, because the direction of the electric field is towards, or into the screen, computer screen, or you can say it is the direction, positive direction of the x. So if you place your right hand along the electric field, and you'll curl your all of the fingers towards the magnetic field, so that must indicate the direction of the propagation. So all the incident wave, transmitted wave, and the reflected wave I have drawn over here based on that principle. First, I'm going to consider the TM polarizations and resolving their components. You can see from here that it is unlike to the normal incidence case where the wave propagation vector was parallel to the z direction and the electric field was parallel to the y direction. But in this case, the propagation vector is making an angle with the surface normal, and due to that case, the electric field is also oriented somewhere within the yz plane. So we can easily understand that the electric field must have two components, and similar to the propagation vector, they also have two components along the y and along the z direction. So we have to resolve all these components for the TM polarizations. Although I am considering the TM polarization first, the analysis procedure for the TE polarizations will be same. If you understand one, you can do it yourself for the second one. But other than this, there are many such things that I'm going to discuss in this lecture that are independent of the polarizations. That means the total internal reflections, the Snell's law, they are independent of these polarizations. But the amplitude that which gets transferred from the medium 1 into the medium 2, they are based on the particular polarizations when the incident wave is making an angle with the surface normal. So here the purpose of the lecture is to address the reflection coefficient and the transmission coefficient for the TM polarization and the TE polarizations. So they are different, or they basically depends upon the particular polarization. So let's start with the TM polarization. First, the equation of the incident wave we can easily write from the equation of the electromagnetic wave. So E naught I represents the polarization of the incident wave, E naught R is the polarization of the reflected wave, and E naught T is the polarization of the transmitted wave. As I told, the electric field is right now is not parallel to either of these y direction or the z direction, since it is the TM polarizations I'm considering. So electric field will be within in the plane of the yz plane. So therefore, you need to consider two separate components of this for this electric field. One is parallel to the y direction, and this is parallel to the z direction, and all such things must be considered for the reflected field and the transmitted field also. So therefore, the polarization vector we can write for the incident wave in this way, since the electric field has no component along the x direction, so that will be 0, and this part represents the component along the y direction, and this part E naught iz represents the polarization along the z direction. Similarly, uh, the field component for the transmitted and reflected wave can also be written, so that I will show you in the next slide. But before that, this E naught Iy that is directed along the y direction, that can also be represented in this form, because since it is the theta I, so and the magnitude is if we consider the mod of this, so this E naught I can also be represented by this form. Similarly, the z component can also be represented by the sine theta form. The polarization for the reflected wave is represented over here in this form. Here, the negative sign which is appearing before the z component, that is because the z component for the reflected wave is directed along the negative z direction. That is why the negative sign is appearing. However, the y component can be represented in this form, and the z component here also can also be represented in this form, but with a negative sign. And the transmitted wave takes the similar type of form as the incident wave, only the difference is that its magnitude and the theta t. Next is the component for the propagation vector. For the incident wave vector, from here you can see the component is directed for the y component is directed along the negative y direction, and the z component is directed along the positive z direction. So therefore, the incident wave vector can be written in this form as I have written over here. the negative sign because the y component is directed along the negative y direction, while the positive y direction is upward direction. The magnitude of this incident wave vector is equals to this k naught times n1 whole square, where n1 is the refractive index of the medium 1. And if you represent the k naught by omega by c, where omega is the frequency of the incident wave and c is the speed of light, and n1 as the root over mu1 and epsilon 1, where mu1 is the permeability of the medium 1 and epsilon 1 is the permittivity of the medium 1. So then you can write this k naught times n1 in this way. So we need both of these type of expressions. Similar to the previous incident wave, the reflected wave can also be decomposed into the two direction, and that can also be represented in this way. But in this case, the z direction is also uh, presented by a negative sign over here, because the z direction of the reflected wave is directed along the negative z direction. And in this case also, the refractive index is same to the previous one, because both the incident wave and the reflected wave, they remains in the same medium. For the transmitted wave case, the component along the z direction will be positive and the component along the y direction will be negative, like this. But here n2 we have to consider, because the transmitted wave, that will be within the medium 2, the second medium. So therefore I have considered the refractive index of the medium 2. The y component and z component of the incident wave can also be represented in this form when you know the angle theta I, which is the incident angle. And basically you should know this angle when you are projecting or you are directing a wave towards an interface. You should know this angle, and this is the magnitude of the incident wave, and that is equals to k naught times n1 square, as I told in my as I have shown in my last slide. And similarly, this one you can represent in this way. Similar type of representation is possible for the reflected wave, where both of these components along the y direction and z direction include the negative sign, because they are directed in a negative direction of the negative z direction as well as the negative y direction. But for the transmitted wave, the y component is directed along the negative y direction and the z component is directed along the positive z direction. So therefore such kind of orientation I have considered for the transmitted wave. Although I have considered the electric field only in my previous slides, the magnetic field also I have to consider when I'm going to derive the magnitude that should be transferred into the second medium when the incident wave is incident on the interface from the first medium. So this is the magnetic field for the incident wave. So you can see from here the magnetic field is directed along the positive x direction, as I have drawn in my diagram, while the electric field has two components. So basically it is representing the TM polarization, because electric field is resolved into two components while magnetic field is directed along the y direction, so it has only one component. So therefore it is called the TM polarization. And the magnetic field amplitude is obviously the amplitude of the electric field divided by the intrinsic impedance of medium 1. The next one is the reflected wave. The orientation of the electric field already I have discussed in my previous slides, and the magnetic field is directed along the negative x direction, so that is why the negative sign appears. This is the same concept what I have applied for the normal incidence. The similar concept will be applicable for here also, and the transmitted wave. Next is the most important thing that I'm going to consider, that is the boundary condition. So the boundary condition, what I have considered for the normal incidence case, in this case also I'm going to consider in a similar manner. That means I'm going to consider the total electric field in medium 1, that will be equals to the total electric field in medium 2, and similar for the magnetic field also. So the incident wave, the electric field for the incident wave is represented by this equation, where the polarization term exists over here, the reflected wave and the transmitted wave. Now, this is the boundary condition. The total electric field in medium 1 is equals to the total electric field in medium 2 at z equals to 0, because the interface is appearing at z equals to 0. Total magnetic field in medium 1 is equals to the total magnetic field in medium 2. So, if you place z equals to 0 over here, over here, over here, so the electric field will be like this, because already we know the x component of the propagation vectors are 0 for all the incident, reflected and the transmitted wave, and right now I'm considering the z equals to 0 also, so these equations uh, will appear over here with only y component, only y component over here as I shown, and the corresponding magnetic field also will be written in this form. So only y component holds, but the polarization terms will exist because z equals to 0. I'm applying only at this portion, this position. So these are the results what I have obtained in my last slide for the electric field, and this is the result for the magnetic field. Next, I have applied the boundary condition for the electric field. The total electric field in medium 1 means the incident wave and for the reflected wave. So medium 1, this is the total electric field, and the total electric field in medium 2 is the transmitted wave, the electric field for the transmitted wave. Similarly, I have applied for the magnetic field also. So this is the equations uh, following the boundary conditions. This equation is only due to the electric field, as we have seen in my earlier slide. Here, since the two components exist for the electric field, so we have to resolve these two components, and we can write two separate equations for these two components. But out of these two equations, we have to consider only only this one, because the z component that is perpendicular to the interface. So therefore, we have to discard this thing, because we are going to apply the boundary condition, and we know from the electric and magnetic boundary conditions that the tangential components, they will be equal in medium 1 and medium 2. So therefore, the tangential component means the y component, which is tangential to the interface. Similarly, for the magnetic field, this equation I have derived from by summing all the magnetic field component directed along the x direction. So x direction is also tangential direction to the interface. Therefore, we have to consider this equation 1 and equation 3. Now, there exists these e to the power factors both in equation 1 and equation 3. In order to apply the boundary condition, so we have to consider that this equation holds, and this equation can hold only if the wave vectors along the direction of the y, they become equal. So if they become equal, so all of this e to the power factor gets cancelled from both sides, and finally these three terms become equal, and the condition appears in a similar way that appeared in the case of normal incidence, and that is the boundary condition for the transverse wave number. And the y component of the wave numbers, they are the transverse direction. Transverse means they are also tangential to the interface, so they are the transverse wave component, so they are also will be a conserved quantity, and that is the boundary condition for the transverse wave numbers. The law of reflection. The wave vector for the incident wave can also be written in this form, where this magnitude of the incident wave vector is represented in this way, and that can also be resolved into its component, where I have written this ky, but I didn't consider whether it is I or R or T, because this ky is a concept quantity right now, as we have seen from the boundary condition of the uh, wave vector, transverse wave vector, that the y components are equal in order to maintain that boundary condition. So therefore, I'm assuming that ky is equal for all the incident wave, reflected wave, and the transmitted wave. So from this equation, we can easily write the z component of the incident wave in this way. So this is the incident wave, this is the y component, and this is the z component. Since the y component is equal for the all the incident wave, reflected wave, and transmitted wave, I have just copied this y component from the incident wave over here for the transmitted wave. So the y component remains same as the incident wave, and similarly the reflected wave, the z component for the reflected wave can also be derived as I have shown over here. Now you can see that the right hand side of this equation for the incident wave and the transmitted wave, they are same. So we can equate both of these two which are in on the left hand side. So by equating these two and uh, uh, a square root results in plus minus of them. Now resolving this sign, we have to consider this minus of this kiz because the plus kiz represents the forward propagation or the incident wave. So obviously the minus sign we have to consider for the reflected wave. Therefore, the reflected wave, z component of the reflected wave will be equal in magnitude, that is equal to the equal in magnitude for the incident wave, but direction in opposite as shown over here, and that results in the reflected wave. So that is why the incident wave and reflected wave, they or the theta angle, theta I and theta r, the angle of incidence and the angle of reflectance, they always will be equal, and that is the law of reflection. And such thing, the law of reflection is equally applicable for the TE mode also, because these things are independent of TM and TE or any kind of polarizations. The magnitude of the transmitted wave vector can also be written in a similar manner that I have followed to write the magnitude of the incident wave vector and the magnitude for the reflected wave vector. The only difference is that I have included only the refractive index of medium 2 because the transmitted wave exists in medium 2. The y component remains same because it is right now a conserved quantity, and the z component is different than the other two. So let's see what is the z component for the transmitted wave. So the y component I have just copied from the reflected wave because all of these they are same. From this equation, I can write the z component in a similar way that I have used to write the z component for the incident and the reflected wave. And if you compare the z component of the transmitted wave with the z component of the incident wave, we can easily conclude that since the refractive index in medium 1 is greater than the refractive index in medium 2, obviously the z component of the transmitted wave must be greater than the z component of the incident wave. So if this short vector represents the z component of the incident wave, a comparatively larger vector should represent the z component of the transmitted wave, and the resulting vector will represent this transmitted wave. Look at here, and that is why the transmitted wave gets shifted towards the surface normal, and theta t makes an which is an angle which is less than the theta I when the incident wave comes from the rarer medium into the denser medium. Now consider the opposite case when the incident wave is coming from the denser medium into the rarer medium. In that case, this condition will be just opposite. That means the transmitted wave vector, z component of the transmitted wave vector will be less than the z component of the incident wave vector. So in that case, so the z component will be defined by a shorter vector than the incident wave. So in that case, the resulting vector will be like this along this. So that will result a larger angle, larger transmitted angle, and the reflection will be away from the surface normal. Next is the Snell's law. This is the expression for the magnitude of the wave vector for transmitted wave that I have used in my last slide. Here also, from that same equation, I can write the ky vector, the vector along the y direction in this way, and a similar way for the incident wave also I can write the y vector in this way. Now, since this all both of these two y component will be similar or will be equal to each other, so we can write or we can equate these two equation or two expression on the right hand side of this two equation. Now, from this expression, we know the wave vector or the uh, transmitted wave vector along the z direction can be represented in this way. Already we have seen such kind of representation in my earlier slide, and a similar type of representation I have used to represent the z component for the incident wave also. And if I take this uh, n2 times k naught square common from both of this equation, and here the n1 times k naught square common from the right hand side, so the final equation will be resulted in this way. And you can easily identify what it is. 1 minus cos square theta t is nothing but the sine square theta t, and this is a sine square theta I, and from both of this side k naught gets cancelled, and finally this equation gets resulted, and that is nothing but this Snell's law. This is a refractive index, the angle of sine of angle of transmittance, and the refractive index of medium 1, and the sine of angle of the incidence. The total internal reflection. Initially, I have considered that the incident wave is coming along this direction, where the direction of the wave vector of the incident wave vector was resolved into the z component and the y component, whereas the z component for the transmitted wave vector I have used to write in this way, where the refractive index of the medium 2 I have included in that expression. And since these y component are equal right now, in order to maintain the boundary condition, so this y ky obviously will be less than this n2 times k naught square, and that is why kz exists in the medium 2. Now let's consider that the incident wave makes an angle larger than the previous one, and that angle I have denoted by the theta c. Now, larger angle means the y component right now gets larger in comparison to the previous one. So if the y component gets larger in this case, and the y component gets larger to that extent that it is suppose equals to the n2 times k naught. What is the n2 times k naught? N2 times k naught is the magnitude of the wave vector in the medium 2, that is the transmitted wave vector. So if the y component gets equal to this, so what will happen? So this is the y component corresponding, this is the z component, and this y component gets equal to this one. The z component for the transmitted wave vector will be 0, and that means this, if this is the equation that defines the uh, propagating wave in medium 2, and look at here, the propagation is taking place based on these two component. One is the y component and another is the z component. In the medium 2, the y component is same or equal for all the incident and transmitted and reflected wave. But right now, that condition, that the y component is equals to the n2 times k naught, makes this tz component 0, or z component of the transmitted wave vector 0. So this part will be 0, and the resulting electric field will be like this. So the resulting from this equation of the resulting electric field, we can easily conclude that the propagation is taking place right now if this condition is maintained, is only based on the y direction. So propagation is taking place along the y direction, along this direction, and so like this. So basically, that is the condition from the Snell's law you can obtain, that if the incident wave will be at angle theta c, that is called the critical angle, the propagation takes place uh, uh, at 90-degree angle with the surface normal. So it will be parallel to the interface. The reason is this one. So we can easily identify from here that the propagation is taking place only along the y direction. So there exists no any other component. But what will happen if the ky component becomes even greater than this n2 times k naught? Let's see. Initially, in all of my previous slides, I have assumed this direction as the direction of the incident wave and this direction as the direction of the corresponding reflected wave. In my last slide, I have assumed that the direction of the incident wave is changed and the new direction maintains an angle theta c, that is the critical angle with the surface normal. And due to that critical angle, the reflected transmitted wave follows the path parallel to the interface, or it follows along the negative y direction, that is along this. We have seen already. Now let's see what will happen if you apply this condition. The ky becomes greater than n2 times k naught. If this condition holds, that means in order to make this condition, if you apply an incident wave which makes an angle theta dash which is greater than even the theta c, then your ky becomes even greater than the previous case. So if the ky is greater than n2 times k naught, this term, that means the z component of the transmitted wave vector, becomes imaginary. And that imaginary part of the z component of the transmitted wave vector we can write in this manner. That means we can write a j term which represents the imaginary times the real term. So this real term, the k dash tz, it represents the magnitude part. It is an arbitrary factor, although I am considering. So our purpose is to incorporate this imaginary part over here. So that the overall z component of the transmitted wave vector becomes imaginary. Now I'm going to use the similar expression for the transmitted wave field, electric field, that I have used for the case when ky is equals to 0 in my last slide. In this expression, I just need to replace this ktz by this newly obtained value. So here I have replaced by this j k dash tz over here, and you can see from here there's two j term exist. Now if you multiply both of them, the resulting equation will be like this. So it is propagating along y direction. The transmitted wave which I have derived for the medium 2, which is represented by a propagating factor along the y direction, but along the z direction it gets decayed. In medium 2, the transmitted wave in medium 2 gets decayed as it propagates. That means the propagation takes place along the y direction, although along the z direction it decays exponentially. So the total energy of the incident wave cannot propagate into the medium 2 since the exponential term exists. So therefore, this is the ky. Direction of the propagation is taking place only based on the y direction, and since the z components become imaginary and the wave energy gets I mean evanescent in the medium 2, the total energy will be reflected back in the first medium, and the resulting wave vector will appear to represent the total internal reflection. And in this case, obviously theta c theta dash will be equals to the theta r. So theta r is the reflected wave angle of the reflected wave, and theta dash is the angle of incident wave, which is greater than the critical angle. Now let's talk about the reflection and transmission coefficient. So initially I have obtained these three equation, and I told only the equation 1 and equation 3 will be applicable because this equation 2 is directed along the z direction, and z direction is the perpendicular direction to the surface to the interface. So therefore we need to consider this y component and the x component because these two components are tangential to the interface. As we know from our previous analysis, that the y component of the incident wave vector and the reflected wave vector and the transmitted wave vector, they are equal. So from equation 1 and equation 3, all the e to the power factor depends upon the y component gets cancelled, and finally equation 1 can be reduced as shown over here, and equation 3 can also equally be reduced as shown over here. And from here you can easily identify right now, so these two equations look similarly as I have obtained for the normal incidence case. But in this case, this E naught I, the incident wave amplitude, can also be represented in this fashion. That means based on the incident angle and the total magnitude of the polarization, and the reflected wave can also be written based on the reflected angle and the magnitude of the polarization, and similarly the transmitted wave also. Now, if you replace all of this factor in equation 1 and equation 3, the fine or after a very little algebraic manipulation, the finally you can write the reflection coefficient and the transmission coefficient as like this. So this is the reflection coefficient for the transverse magnetic polarization, and this reflection coefficient and transmission coefficient depend upon the polarization, because later on I will derive the similar reflection and transmission coefficient for the TE mode also. So the reflected wave right now, the magnitude of the reflected wave right now can be uh, written in this way, and similarly the magnitude of the transmitted wave right now can be written in this way, where the transmission coefficient can be written over here. Now you can see from here, improve these two equations, if theta I goes to 0, theta R also will be 0. So theta I, theta T and theta R will be 0, and if you put theta I, theta R, theta T will be 0, this equation will be equal to the equation you have obtained for the normal incidence case. Now, another interesting thing which is associated with this TM polarization, that is the Brewster's angle. The Brewster's angle is the angle at which no reflection takes place. So it is amazing because uh, we know when an wave incidents on a particular interface, some energy must be reflected back, and even if the angle is greater than a particular angle when the incident wave is coming from the denser medium, so the total internal reflection takes place. But there is a phenomena called the Brewster's angle that states that for TM polarization, there is a possibility that the total energy or total wave gets transmitted without having any wave reflected back into the medium, and that we can find out. And that angle at which the total transmission takes place, that angle is called the Brewster's angle. And here you can easily figure it out what will be the Brewster's angle for TM polarizations. So this is a Snell's law. So from here, if you replace only, you can see from the first equation that only the transmitted angle for the transmitted wave and incident wave included in the expression of the reflection. And from the Snell's law, we can easily replace this cos theta t by this expression, where this mu1 epsilon 1 represents the refractive index of the medium 1, and mu2 epsilon 2 represents the refractive index of medium 2. Now after replacement over here, in order to make this reflection 0, I'm considering that theta I will be equal to theta B. At that angle, the Brewster's angle, the reflection goes to 0. So if you make this part 0, so only you'll will have only this part is equal to 0. So into eta 2, that represents the uh, increasing impedance of medium 2 times this factor minus the increasing impedance of medium 1 times this cos theta b, as I have replaced theta I by theta b, will be equals to 0. And finally, after very small algebraic manipulations, we can write that the theta b will be sine inverse of this factor. So this is the angle at which no reflection is going to take place. So that is based on the ratio of the permittivity of medium 1 and medium 2. So let's see how it is happening. Here I have represented these two figures in order to make you understand the phenomena of total transmission based on the Brewster's angle. So first consider this diagram or this figure where the ratios n1 to n2, that is the ratio of refractive indexes of medium 1 to medium 2, is less than 1, starting from 0.1 to 0.9. If the permeability of medium 1 and medium 2 are equal, and which is the general case, So that ratio of the refractive indexes will be defined based on the ratio of the permittivities. So that means N1 to N2 will be represented by the ratio of epsilon 1 to epsilon 2. Anyway, first case I am considering that the ratios are less than 1. From here you can see easily that initially the reflection is high because the y-axis I have shown over here, that is the reflection coefficient, the magnitude of the reflection coefficient, and at the x-axis is the angle uh, I'm traversing starting from 0 to 90 degree. So as I'm increasing the angle, 0 angle is a normal incidence and 90 degree is a tangential to the interface. So as I'm increasing the angle for a smaller ratio, we can see the reflection gets decreased first, and at a particular angle the reflection is even 0. So at this angle the total transmission is taking place. So this angle is called the Brewster's angle for that particular ratio. Similarly, for the second ratio, as the ratio gets increased, the Brewster's angle shift to the left hand side, and for the ratio 0.9 we are getting the Brewster's angle between 40 to 50 degree like this. So these are called the Brewster's angle. Now I'm considering the second case where I have considered the ratios which are greater than the 1, 1.5, starting from 1.5 to 3.5, and we can see that for this case when the ratios are less than 1, the Brewster's angle are generally appearing greater than 40 degree, but in the second case the Brewster's angle are appearing less than 40 degree. However, along with that, for this case and second uh, phenomena we can also observe, that is the total internal reflection, because in this case the ratios are greater than 1. That means the medium 1 is the denser medium and the medium 2 is the rarer medium. So as the angle of incidence gets increased, obviously there is the possibility of the total internal reflection. And you can see from these two curves or these two figures that in the first case the reflection even can go to the one that is a totally gets reflected back, but that is not due to the total internal reflection because the incident angle right now 90 degree. So the wave is propagating tangential to the interface, so nothing is reflected back, nothing is transmitted and nothing is reflected, so it becomes the wave is propagating parallel to the interface. So that is why based on our equation what I have obtained, it is showing that the reflection is the one that totally reflected back, but it is not the total internal reflection. But look at the second figure, second diagram. Here after this Brewster's angle, as you are moving or you are increasing the angle of incidence, you can see the reflection gets increased, but after at some point the reflection there is no trace of the reflection, and this reflection in this case is not reaching the one. That is because after at these points, according to the expression of these reflection coefficients, the expression becomes imaginary. So that becomes imaginary because from the Snell's law we know the solution in the medium 2 is not available. So because the total internal reflection is taking place at these angles, so these angles we can consider that is a theta c, because after this angle the solutions become imaginary, and based on our equations what I have obtained, so it cannot produce the result because this plot I have shown over here, that is considering only the real data, and for the total internal reflection the equation produces the imaginary data, so the imaginary plot is not available over here. So these angles are the theta c or the critical angle. The phenomena of total transmission based on the Brewster's angle can easily be understood using some animation, and that is why I have presented two animations to make you understand. So here I am assuming the medium 1 is made of a material having refractive index equals to 1, and the medium 2 has the refractive index is equals to 2. So you can assume the medium 1 is the air medium or the free space. So I have calculated the Brewster's angle for such combination, that is equals to 63.44 degree for this particular combination. And in the first case, I am assuming that the angle of incidence is 20 degree. And here I am going to observe some reflection, but in this case there will be no reflection. Let's see. So this is the wave vector that must be perpendicular to the direction of the propagation. So this is propagation. Here this is a transmitted wave that is also perpendicular to the propagation, and this is a reflected wave. Now the second case, this is the wave vector making an angle 63.44 degree. Here you can see gets transmitted, everything gets transmitted, no reflection, but here is a reflection. Observe the simulations once again. Incident wave vector which is perpendicular to these planes. You can see here also the incident wave vector perpendicular to these planes, and here no reflection, but here there is a reflection. The transmitted wave perpendicular to these transmitted wave planes, and this is perpendicular to the reflected wave planes. There's no reflection in the second case because the incident wave is incident at the interface at the Brewster's angle. Let's see once again. But in this case, since it is less than the Brewster's angle, so there will be reflection. That is why reflection is taking place over here. So this is the amazing thing we can have for the TM polarization, that is the Brewster's angle. Now it is straightforward to write the transmitted reflection coefficient for the TE polarization and the transmission coefficient for TE polarization in this way. The only difference from the TM polarization is that for the TM polarizations, this eta 2 was associated with the theta t. That means the angle of uh, transmittance. Cos theta t was associated with the eta 2. That means the intrinsic impedance of medium 2. But here the intrinsic impedance of medium 2 is associated with the cos of the incident angle. So this is the only difference, and all other analysis part and all of these things are equal. So you can do this analysis very easily. Similar to the Brewster's angle that I have obtained for the TM polarizations, such kind of angle can also be obtained for the TE polarizations, but in this case the sine squared theta b contains this expression as 1 minus mu1 divided by mu2 at the denominator. Here in general case we generally consider that this mu1 and mu2 are equal. If it is, then sine theta b tends to infinity and there will be no such angle called the Brewster's angle for the TE polarization if mu1 is equals to mu2. But if it is not the case, although this case is very rare, then we may have the Brewster's angle for the TE polarizations also. But in general, for a wide range of material combinations, we generally do not have the Brewster's angle for the TE polarizations. And that's all for today.